Oh, Dr. Tiny. I see you're making our new friend Pumpkin feel welcome. But what could a doctor of science and a trickster witch be bonding over? Oh, I see. You found a common ground in alchemy. Though alchemy isn't magic. It is a proto-science. So while it turned out not to be correct, at least the people doing it were trying to apply scientific testing principles to it, such as the main thing being that it is repeatable, rather than pseudoscience, which is completely made up so that they can sell you something. Yes, alchemy is, well, very important around here, given our, vaguely medieval themes and, well, the color scheme we use. The black, white, yellow, and red are the colors of the magnum opus stages. Now, the magnum opus translates to great work. The thing that most alchemists seemed to be concerned with was the creation of the Philosopher's Stone, which was not actually a stone. It was a substance, an ingredient that they would use, if they were able to create it, to make something else that would turn base metals such as lead into gold, or as an ingredient in an immortality serum. Now, this didn't work because the Philosopher's Stone is, magic rather than science. But at least they were attempting to pursue it in a scientific manner. Now, what the magnum opus is best for is creative works. And I will also be discussing the Four Temperaments that go along with, the four humours and the four elements. There's a lot of fours going on here. And while I will be discussing the Four Temperaments, do remember that even the old alchemists knew that, people couldn't be stuffed into just four little boxes. Everyone had their own, balance of humours. So everyone was different. Now, I know that humans love to categorize things and stuff things into little boxes, and even I will describe myself as choleric. Anyone who is trying to simplify things down like that, trying to stuff you into a little box, or worse, cut off pieces of you to fit in that little box, is not your friend. Alright, I need to move you two so that I can show things on the table camera. Excuse me. Now, we're going to start with the first stage of the magnum opus, is the black stage, Negredo. And the humor for it is black bile, which is produced by the spleen, so they thought. Now, in terms of elements, it is considered to be cold and dry, which would make it part of the earth element. Not to say that this is earth, it simply has earth vibes. The season it is associated with is autumn, and the humor black bile is considered melancholic, so sad generally. Other traits associated with are being gentle, supportive, avoidant, spiritual, or intuitive. It is the first stage of the magnum opus, chaos, breaking things down into component pieces so that they can be rebuilt. In terms of an artwork, this would be a rough sketch, or the first draft of a story where you just slam out all your ideas without any refinement, just to get it all out onto the page. The next stage of the magnum opus is the white stage, albedo. The humor it is associated with is phlegm, and back in the day, phlegm did not mean mucus as we know it. It was any clear or white fluid from the body, so it would also include things like saliva or sweat or even spinal fluid. It is associated with the brain, and possibly it's a pituitary secretion. It tends to be the most loosey-goosey of the humours. It is considered cold and wet, which makes its element water. And the season it is associated with is winter. The people with an excess of this humor, so they said, were phlegmatic, so calm and reserved. Other traits associated with are analytical, curious, strategic, scholarly, and reasoning. Now, as we continue our creative work, the albedo stage is the building stage. So this would be, in your story, you would be, turning your rough draft into something that makes more sense. Getting your scenes to line up properly, getting all this, getting all the spelling errors out of the way, just getting a basic story done. Or in your art, this would be, getting the paint on the canvas, or getting the proper drawing made from the original sketch. The third stage, the yellow stage, is citrinitas. The humor associated with it is yellow bile, which is, possibly a gallbladder fluid. It's associated with digestion, so vomit and poop, basically. Now, while this is a liquid, the humor is considered to be hot and dry, which makes its element fire. It is associated with the season of summer, and people with an excess of yellow bile are considered to be choleric, which is to say, angry. And the other traits associated with this are assertiveness, obsessiveness, competitiveness, an interest in history and tradition, and sometimes they are considered sensible, which doesn't really attach to obsessive and traditionalist, but, there are always many interpretations of these things. Some versions of the magnum opus remove the citronitis stage. They jump straight from white to red. But I think that the third stage is very important. This is the refinement stage. In alchemy, it was sort of the, where white is building up the body, yellow would be, refining the soul. So, for a artistic work, in the story you're writing, this would be, the refinement stage. This would be going through and, figuring out your themes and, making the story go from just, words on a page that make sense to a work of art. And in a drawing or a painting, this would be making all the little details that make it pop. Fourth and final stage, the red stage, is rubido. And obviously, the humor associated with it is blood. Now, in alchemy, blood wasn't its own thing. It was a mix of the other three humours, so that's what it means to have your humours in balance. They could test that by, a blood test, and find out if you have the different proportions of black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm from your blood. And if they were in equal proportions, you were said to be, that your humours were in balance. Now, again, it's a liquid, and it is considered to be hot and wet. And the element associated with that is air. The season it's associated with is spring. And people whose humours are in balance are considered to be sanguine, which is to say happy. And it is also associated with being experimental, social, adaptive, spontaneous, or artistic. And then applying this to art, this would be the completion of the art. And I think that it's actually rather important to have a stage that is completion, because so many people will just keep picking and picking and picking at something that should be complete in their quest to make it perfect, that it just ends up being a mess again. All right, you two, we've had our little lecture, so what do we do now? Oh, you want me to play the little trick-or-treat game again? Well, let me get you two out of the way. I will get out the cup and balls again. So, if I get black, I have to perform a trick. And if I get yellow, I get to have a treat. Last time, I managed to get a treat, but I have no idea what this time will have in store for me. Alright, those are all good and mixed up, and I don't know which is which. Black. Now, no treat for me. I have to perform a trick, but I don't really know any tricks. Let me give you a bit of trivia about Halloween pumpkins. Now, pumpkins are something that, evolved in the Americas, but Halloween originally came from Europe. So before Europe had pumpkins, they would carve jack-o'-lanterns out of turnips or other little root vegetables. And then when they came to the Americas, they realized that pumpkins made excellent lanterns. Is that enough of a trick for you? Oh, good. Well, I think that's me for the Halloween episodes. After this, it's the librarian getting to have a turn at some Halloween fun.